Alright, quick addendum. This video was supposed to go out, I guess, yesterday, but on the same day we got the news that there's going to be a massive update for DNF Duel. So with that in mind, obviously just my luck that as soon as I make the review video, even a quick one, things want to change. So with that in mind, this is going to use this video as a time capsule of what the game once was before this grand update. And we'll see after the grand update how many of these things stick. Anyway, so outdated video, let's go. Welcome on y'all, it's Dimz, and today we have a quick review for DNF Duel. Now, the way I like to review my games is I usually like to wait for the honeymoon period to be over to actually get a feel and just play the game a lot, so I can actually come up with a full and good review. Now for this review, however, it's going to be a little quicker because the game, we're going to talk about it. So, DNF Duel. DNF Duel is a 2D fighting game that came out from Arc System Works, and it looks pretty as heck. It's based on the characters and the IP of Dungeon Fighters Online, and they decided, hey, why not make a fighting game? So, let's see how it is. So DNF Duel had released, and when it did release, it was technically a budget fighting game. As in, technically it wasn't $60, I paid $40 for it, but I think it was retail priced around $50 USD. So, it's quote unquote a budget fighting game, but, from the IP of Dungeon Fighters Online, the mobile game, which is more famous in like the East than it is the West. So to make things quick and fast, when you boot up the game, there's really nothing. As in, you get your versus mode, your training mode, your online mode, and a story mode. There is a survival mode, which is pretty nifty since you can keep going, and the longer you survive, it'll keep going. But you can add points based on your total, your high score total. You use those points to increase stats, and you just keep playing with those improved stats. But besides that, there's really nothing to this game besides it's one of the fighting games that are versus mode, training mode, online. That's kind of it. Story has really nothing going for it, except if you just want to learn about the characters. Then again, the characters are just kind of named after their class, but it's fine, it's fine. So DNF Duel dropped, and it was fun. I had a lot of fun with this game when it first dropped. It actually tried something like new, sort of like Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, where there is a simple input mode, so you don't have to use motion inputs, but then there was also the option to use motion inputs, so you could use either or. The only downside was, supposed downside was if you use the simple input mode, your mana would regen slower, and you use mana for all your special moves basically. So if you do the normal input, your mana will come back or regen faster than if you do the simple input, which at the end of the day, if you're trying to finish the round, it doesn't matter. But if you're trying to do specific combos and make sure you have a good wealth of mana to use for a resource, you might want to learn how to do the motion inputs. It was basically kind of like that. However, this kind of didn't work so well because the mana regen was pretty negligible, to the point where only like specific combos, if you wanted to do them, would require you to do motion inputs to have the mana resource to finish the combo. But for the most part, you can just do every combo that you could with command inputs, which it's kind of whatever. But it also sucked, especially for me, when there's a leniency that they put on the motion inputs, where sometimes if you try to do a quarter circle, it'll read as a Shoryuken or a Z motion, which, listen, in the heat of battle, you don't want to be doing DPs when you try to shoot a fireball projectile. It could lose you the round. Actually, here's an example of it happened to me. So basically, for the best part, it was like you basically would want to use command normals unless you specifically didn't have to. But this game also had a lot of other issues with it. But you know, it still was fun at the time. But when I started trying to, like, I guess, go in depth with the game and actually start competing in tournaments and stuff, all the cracks start showing. Basically, the game, quote unquote, got solved real quickly. And when I say solved, I mean basically the answers or the characters who you had to use if you really wanted to win. It was kind of clear and plain as day. So a lot of characters, which I like to refer to as the mutants, once they hit you, they basically took you for a ride, made you sit, and made you have to guess on every wake up. Because if they hit you once, you was going over for the same ride and they was gonna win. And the thing is, there's some character. Basically, there's a chart that I made was saying, hey, these are the characters that are really good. These are the characters that are not as good, but you know, you'll have to work a little harder to win with them. And then there was characters like if you chose it, you was basically just trolling and you wasn't really trying to win. But well, after I dropped Swiftmaster, for some reason my focus went on the characters that were bottom tier. So that was basically kind of trolling, I guess. On top of the game being solved, it basically kind of boiled down to every character has like 2 combo routes. And then they have this 3rd combo route if you have your super available to you. So the thing is, you were seeing the same combos over and over, and it was mostly because those were the optimal combos. The only reason you would not do those combos is if you did not know how to do them, which any other combo you would do would be less effective for you and give you less damage. So basically, you did see all the same combos. If someone gets a hit, you already know what combo they was going for, and it was just the same 2 combos over and over. So offensively, there was no player expression. So, because the thing is, everyone was doing the exact same combos. However, I feel like the player expression in the game always came from defensive play. Of when did this person choose to roll, stop blocking, guard cancel, and how do they like navigate neutral just to land that one hit before doing the same combo. That was where you was gonna find the player expression in the game, which was I thought was neat until it wasn't anymore. I just kind of fell out with the game. It became too samey, and it didn't help that the game basically stopped getting updates. It seemed like the devs wanted to kind of make this like a modern day Kusuo game, as some people might say. Basically, one of those games that were like one of the old classic games that were kind of broken but never got updated and never got patched, and people just kind of lived with it and just took it for what it was. That's what it seemed like they were trying to do with this, because even when they did drop a balanced patch, there's like they're only gonna focus mostly on buffs, which it's definitely a good something to experiment with. I don't mind like watching this game like with only getting buffs and buffs and buffs. Just watching a game just gets progressively, everyone just gets stronger and stronger till everyone just like crazy powerful. I don't mind that experiment. But when you like stop with the updates and don't even add new characters, the game does get stale, stagnant, and basically solved. And soon enough, the player base kind of dropped from it. So, but now here comes the question. Was the game actually any good? Honestly, if you really just wanted a game where you only play versus mode and training mode, it actually was pretty good for that. But I personally wouldn't like take it too seriously, and it's hard for me to tell someone to buy it even at the $50 tag, because a lot of fighting games are coming out, and a lot of fighting games I can tell you to play would be much cheaper. And even with archaic stuff like no more balance patches, I can definitely tell you about a lot of classic games that will cost you $0 to like $10, $20 that would give you more fun than DNF. So the game was pretty, absolutely pretty, but the fact that it was just left without patches and just kind of left to play itself, I felt like because of that, it's hard for me to even recommend anyone to play this game anymore. Maybe one day they'll come out with a balanced patch, but they're gonna have to like do a giant one that will probably overhaul everything to even change my ways of thinking about it. But even on top of that, I don't think I'll go back to the game. I feel like I've had my fun with it, and yeah. It just kind of came and went. No giant fanfare. As it like kind of left the scene or kind of like walked out. Arc System Works still put it on their like world tour or Arc Sys Tool right next to Guilty Gear. So kind of they're kind of like obligated to keep running a circuit for it. So the players who are still dedicated to the game or that just wants to just play this game just to pick the best characters and just try to get that money. There's still money there. But besides that, I don't see this game actually getting like a second round on the tour. And it's kind of disappointing how a game like nowadays just kind of came out published from a big company in the fighting game scene. It just kind of came, went, and anyway, that's basically my review of DNF Duel as it stands. Like I said, maybe one day they'll get a balance patch in the future. I wouldn't hold my breath, and even with that said, I don't think I'll go back. So honestly, I wouldn't recommend this game per se. So take that with what you will. Anyway, I've been Dimz. I hope you all have a great one.